Over 15,000 Indians bravely served alongside Australian forces in this campaign, and 1,600 sadly lost their lives. It's a partnership that all too often has been untold, save for the fine work of Professor Stanley and others like him who brought so many stories of courage, comradeship and camaraderie to light. So thank you to Peter, and thanks to Peter, we know that Jan Mohammed bravely defended a well under fire so that thirsty Australian soldiers could drink, and that Subedar Gambhir Singh Pun expertly commanded the Gurkhas, standing side by side with Australians in the fight for the Gallipoli summit. It is clear that Australian and Indian soldiers bonded in battle and had a deep respect for each other. And indeed, I remember as a child, Gallipoli, some historians have said, is like Australia's Odyssey and Iliad, those national mythologies that helps us understand what it means to be Australian. And so much of that national mythologising is passed on, not just by historians, but from generation to generation, from the stories that families told from their service of members of their predecessors. And I can certainly remember being told stories of Australians serving side by side with Indians at Gallipoli as a child, not in history books, but in that oral history, that collective memory we have as Australians. So thank you to Peter for your dedication to researching and illuminating a part of the great story of Australia and India. And thank you also to Mark for presenting the Bahadur painting to the AII. It is really magnificent. And Mark has already shed light on the painting and the wonderful work of Mr. Ghosh and of the Paraplegic Centre for Armed Forces. ANZAC Day is a core element of how Australians think about themselves. And so it's very special for another nation to have played such a part, such an essential part in our national story and our national identity. And this is something that we want to honour and to commemorate. It's why the main road running alongside the Swan River in Perth was recently renamed the Ceylani Avenue after Private Nain Singh Ceylani, who died on the Western Front in 1917. It pays homage to the great sacrifices made by Anzacs from the Indian community. On Anzac Day this year, Australians, New Zealanders and our Indian friends will come together to commemorate those sacrifices in dawn services in New Delhi, in Mumbai, in Chennai, in Kolkata, and in Australia's newest mission in Bengaluru. We will remember Anzacs who served alongside our staunch friends and allies. Our shared history in World War I is one of the foundations on which our relationship is built. And today that relationship is closer and more important than ever. Our leaders and ministers visit each other more often now than ever before. Last year there were 19 visits from Australian ministers to India, including the Prime Minister twice. There were 6 visits from Indian ministers to Australia, including Indian Prime Minister Modi. We've signed a free trade agreement so that, like our people, our goods can travel more freely. And our countries share deep, enduring cultural links. Australia is home to almost 1 million people who identify as having Indian heritage, including somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 of my own voters. It's now a hotly contested statistic for which Australian MP has the biggest Indian Australian community. I'm currently coming in third in that race. But it's a new fact that Australian MPs know these statistics, and these people-to-people links, embodied by the people in this room, I might say, are at the heart of our relationship.